Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for April 12th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Mel. How you doing, Mel?
I'm doing well, Mel. I don't even have anything for an intro. I got nothing. It was a very, very slow day, which is nice after some crazy times. Still really, really enjoying the season. You know, not every week can be 100 with like crazy hour-long updates every single day. They're still fun to watch, even when there's not crazy gaming and stuff going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. We are here to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother Canada 10 live feeds. It was day 45 in the house, and this is there's weirdly like a big thing to update on, but also not really at all, and also very little to update on here today for the update. As you know, the feeds were down for a long time last night. Gino, of course, the HOH nominated Moose and Summer. Helena won the veto, planned to not use the veto, but then the feeds went down for a very long time last night. We thought it was perhaps for some sort of party or something. They came back very briefly in the morning, but then were out again for a long portion of the day. They came back for in my afternoon, basically. So a lot of speculation as to what could be happening when the feeds finally do come back. We found out that there was a secret power that was introduced into the house that was not used and is likely now expired. So it's kind of just a lot, much to do about nothing at this point.
It's that Arissa quote, do you have that one?
This one?
Yeah, that was like the feeds coming back and us being like, okay, what happened? Oh, not a lot.
Pretty much. The feeds are down. First of all, there's been some Hams has been tweeting out spoilers. I've been told that there were spoilers, that he was making accurate predictions, but I was seeing a lot of Hamza tweets yesterday that all of them seem to be very wrong. I'm wondering if this was just a big con job the whole time. I don't know. But maybe there aren't real spoilers out there, is what I'm saying here. You always gotta take it with a grain of salt. But
maybe Hamza was spoiler girl all along.
Maybe.
I feel like because he had some actual spoilers. So I feel like it's one of those things where you have one thing of information and then it's like horoscopes in the newspaper where it's like, you'll have a good day today, and that's me, I had a good day today. It's like you find one true thing and then you can just kind of sneak in these other maybe true things. Yeah, so he maybe could have gotten one right if what else would feeds be down for 7 hours for? You got 3 choices: a power, someone trying to quit, or a sponsored content, and he just guessed wrong.
Yeah, he basically guessed 2 different things that why the feeds were down. Both of those were wrong when the feeds came up, and it was a power. He guessed who had the power, and he was wrong about that too. And it was okay, all right.
But he did have actual spoilers for us. He predicted that double eviction thing. So I feel like it's one of those things. I wonder if the alumni that went in for that competition got a bunch of news for that week, and he just took all of that and released it. And now it's now he is his source of information is dried up, but he's still trying. You go, Hamza.
Who knows? Worth noting here as it impacts things like the schedule for the Stockholm. There was some sort of power, but there's again reason to believe that it was not only not used but now expired. That they were talking about the fact that it was perhaps expired. Even the people that didn't seem to know who had it or what it was. So the veto ceremony has already happened when the feeds come back. The regular veto was not used. The secret power was not used. Both Summer and Moose remain on the block heading for eviction. We think nothing else is going to interrupt this week.
Yep. Sorry. Again, it's not a super fun update. We can talk about the person who probably, hopefully found it.
We're just
going to stretch that out as long as possible.
It's the only real intrigue of the update. So we're going to keep you hanging. So There's some speculation that it was Marty. It makes a lot of sense, right? If this was some sort of secret power of Veto, which is pretty quickly the speculation, then the only people that you would assume wouldn't use the veto are Marty, Kevin, and Helena. Maybe a touch of Josh, because Josh has kind of been talked into keeping Marty around. But you would assume that most other people would use it. Kevin and Helena are going to talk together for a little bit when the feeds are back. Seems as though they're both speculating on who it could be. Now, these are certainly players that maybe wouldn't tell each other, and maybe you're not allowed to tell each other, but pretty quickly seems like maybe it's not them. There's also then some footage of Marty peeling up some wallpaper in the Expedia room, and people are like, I bet it's Marty. It's gotta be Marty, because that would just be the worst possible outcome. We'd be like, whoop did he do that it's Marty. So people are speculating that Marty probably has it. But we're, Jace and Gino are going to be talking, and Jace is like, did you get it, Gino? And he's like, nah. And so it remains a mystery for now as to who has this power and whether or not it actually is expired.
That Marty clip made me laugh. He's like ruining the Big Brother Canada house. Like, let me peel up this wallpaper, and everyone's like, oh, power. And then there was like talk about someone found a card and there was a red ribbon on the couch, and it's like anything that would normally be absolutely nothing. It's like, maybe this could be a hint to the power. But I feel like the biggest clue that it wasn't Marty that had the power was because the entire house didn't know within 4 seconds of it happening. Mm-hmm. That guy can't keep a secret to.
Very true. There was also speculation. Kevin and Josh were having a conversation about how to turn Marty against Gino if he won. And they were talking about using it as in information, as in Josh's Final Four information on Gino. But some people were like, oh, but the power? You mean they mean the power? No, it was the using the information to turn Marty against Gino. Summer is going to make some pitches to stay. Mostly that, hey, keep me around. You want me around. Summer, all smiles. I'm great. You don't want me to be gone, do you? She
Good
is
pitch.
positioning.
Would work on me.
Yeah, she's positioning herself essentially against the Showmance for the most part, which is the right call to make here. And that is why they're keeping her at this time, is that they feel like she is anti-Showmance. They don't really know exactly where Moose stands. So these pitches are fine, and they go fine.
Just to go back a minute with the Gino and Marty, it's like low-key one of my favorite relationships right now, the Gino and Marty, because it's like they're always at each other, but not. So it's like they're constantly trying to target each other or trying to avoid targeting each other, and it's just like going back and forth, because now like Marty's talking again. It's like, oh, I don't know, should I go against Gino? I can't do it a third time. But you can tell if the right person tells him, he's absolutely going to do it again despite all of his protesting. And then Gino was trying to target Marty, but that didn't happen. Would he like do it again? I don't know. It's just great to see their weird relationship. And then like, should Gino even be targeting Marty? Like, yeah, depending on the day, maybe today you should target him because he's coming for you. Then tomorrow he's feeling guilty again and he won't come for you. So don't target him tomorrow. It's like, oh, it's fun though.
Yeah, I mean, Marty's gonna talk to Summer about that. He's like, I know, I've got to be loyal to Gino, even though I know he's not loyal to me, and I know that at the second he gets the chance, he will backdoor me. But I still need to be loyal to him, because I feel so bad. I betrayed him twice. Twice it eats me up inside. I can't do it a third time.
It's like the Abby Maria in Survivor. You voted against me twice, 2 times. And it's like it impacts the rest of the game.
It's not a betrayal if you're not with him anymore.
And if it is a betrayal, who cares? That's the game, Marty.
No.
Anyways,
Moose,
yes, pitches. We had pitches. They were fine.
Moose is also going to make some pitches, primarily to Josh. He makes a pitch to Josh. He says, Josh, you're my number one in this game at this point. It's like, you don't really show it, Moose. Like you say it, but you don't. And he even says, like, I don't know. I don't think that I'm your number one, but you're basically my number one. It's like, then show it, like talk game to him more often. Dude, Moose, come on.
Where's Moose?
I don't know. He's not talking game.
This was the problem we had with Josh in the pre-jury phase, right? Where he just kind of would not talk game and make people really sketched out. Do you think they flipped roles in that sense, where now Moose is the not really talking game?
Yeah, Kyle swapped their positions. He said, Moose, you're talking too much. I want you to stop talking. Moose was like, okay. And he said, Josh, you're not talking enough. I want you to start talking. And Josh was like, fine. And then
Kyle's
they swapped
impact.
positions. Yeah.
Yeah.
He says, Moose pitches to Josh. He says, I think we should make a deal with Jace and Gino. Bring Betty in, and then we just battle it out in the end. Boom. Yeah. Bad pitch, Moose.
That pitch of we'll just battle it out in the end. Like if you're trying to sell that someone will go with you, like say things to make them arrive to the conclusion that they can beat you. It's not like, oh, if you bring me, then we're like two equally great competitors and I might beat you, you might beat me. Like that gives them no incentive to bring you. I mean, I guess it depends. If you're pitching to Marty, then you pitch like loyalty. But pitching to someone who you assume is a gamer, then don't say, well, just like, what? Then you lose one competition, you lose the game. Like, why would that make you want to keep him?
Again, I think Moose's issue here is that he just does not know the lay of the land, and he does not realize that Kevin and Helena are kind of in charge of this vote, and that he should be pitching to them, and pitching for figuring out what they want and pitching to do what they want, which is not to work with the Showmance. They want him to be like, I'll work for you. I'll take out the Showmance. I'll be a weapon. I'll be whatever. And I think he's willing to make that pitch. He just doesn't know how to or why to. And so he's instead pitching what he thinks is the play, which is that, hey, the Showmance is in charge of this vote, and I'll pitch to them, and I'll try to grab Josh. But that's not where we're at, unfortunately. It may not prevent him from being saved by Kevin and Helena if they decide to go in that direction, because they can always just talk to Moose and try to get him on board. But the fact that his inclination is to go with the Showmance is definitely a hindrance to that notion. So we will see where this goes.
Yeah, Herman's exit interview was so eye-opening in that the way that he views Kevin seems like that's probably the way other people in the house view Kevin. So like, I don't blame Moose at all for not realizing, oh, like instead of going to Josh, who's Kevin's built up to be this like huge power player mastermind, and instead be like, oh, I should actually be going to Kevin who controls Josh. Like there's no way that he would know that. But every time you watch him talk to Josh, it's like, oh, if you only knew what you had to do. And like, I can't even think of how he would figure it out. Like, it's just one of those things that you can't know in this house.
Yeah, I mean, I think he certainly could at least pitch to the people on the outs to some degree. But the problem is that, you do have to think that there's a genuine chance to get 4 votes this week if you don't have the Showmance, because the Gino breaks a tie. So it is tough if you don't recognize the position that Kevin and Helena are in.
And he seems very convinced that JC Lynn is a vote for him to stay.
Yeah. Which is not true.
Which is not true. So I can totally understand as well why he would go that route. And it's like, oh, I already have the vote and then the tiebreaker vote. All I need is 2 more people. And if he feels like he said Josh is his number 1, so of course go for Josh. And then with Josh comes Betty in. That seems like such an easy path to go for. And of course he would try it. And it's just, oh, it's so discouraging watching him knowing that it can't work.
Mm-hmm. So Jace and Gino are gonna chat for a bit. She's gonna ask him, hey. They're having an ice cream date. Tell me something about you that I don't already know. And Gino's like, well, I've already said that I'm 29. So the nightlight thing. He says, okay, hold on. He says, look, I'm a lover boy.
Oh, he's gonna like vomit. What does that even mean?
It means,
chat, please translate for me.
It means he's not a douchebag, is what he says. So people might think he's a douchebag, but he's actually like really chill and nice, which means he's a lover boy.
Is that how it works? Like douchebag and lover boy are the opposite things. So if you're not a douchebag, you're automatically a lover boy.
He's a lover boy.
Which one are you, Taran?
I too am a lover boy.
Oh no.
Yeah. Me and Gino.
Yeah.
2 peas in a pod.
There you go.
2 lover boys in a house.
Oh, there'll be 2 lover boys in a house later on.
She says, okay. Well, here's one thing about me that you don't know, Gino. Yesterday, I came out of the HOH room and I found a secret clue in the flowers. What?
No way. Oh.
Come on, Jace.
You really suck at lying.
Come on. No. Well, the feed's cut after she says that, which definitely adds some credence to the idea that it's true. When the feeds come back, she is going to elaborate a bit more. She was told by Arissa. She spoke to Arissa, then she was told by Arissa that the power is only good for that day. So it is gone now. She could have used it. It was a secret power of veto, she says, and she chose not to use it. And she wasn't allowed to tell Gino. I think she sort of implied that they said, like, you will be evicted if you tell anybody. And so she was happy that it expired today because it meant that she was allowed to tell him. She didn't know what she would do if she wasn't allowed to tell him for a lengthy period of time. That would have been very awkward. Jace found the veto, did not use it. Now, I think in order to understand this, we probably would have had to have feeds for the last, 24 hours. But we did get some amount of, I did mention yesterday on the update that Jace and Gino had seemed to have come around on the idea of Marty staying. Now, I felt like it was mostly because it was like they didn't want to bother to like try to push for Helena to use the veto. And so they started to think like, okay, well, what are the positives to this happening? And I think that as that happened and as they were talking to Kevin more and as they were talking to Helena more, they were like, all right, you know what? Let's figure out a way that we're happy with this result. And then I think they just got attached to that result. They were like, okay, I guess Marty's not leaving. I guess, I guess we're just going to go in this direction. Jace was always the person also that was like not as dedicated to taking Marty out this week as much as Gino was. I think if Gino had this veto, it might have been a different story. But he's also like not upset that she didn't play it or anything because, again, they had already kind of come to terms with the fact that Marty would not be leaving, and they recognized that Marty is not really coming for them, and maybe it wasn't like the best move in the world anyway. So at the end of the day here, Jace does not use the veto, and everything remains the same. What a weird week again, where it's like, seriously, like every single week, it feels like oh, something could really go wrong here, except like Kevin and Helena are managing to get their way anyway, because of the level of persuasion that they're putting into the house here.
I have so many thoughts. First of all, in this conversation, after she tells him, she brags, I see I'm good at keeping secrets. I'm like a vault. Like I can keep a secret. It's like, you told him 4 minutes after you were legally allowed to by Big Brother. Like, get out of here. Second of all, the play here has to be not to tell him, right? Like, if they're linked together so much, like, in the end, if she's thinking about the end game, you need something to be able to pull out there to say, look, I did this. So whether it's backdooring Marty, whether it's not backdooring Marty, I feel like she needs to do something here against what Gino wants that's better for her. So she can then say, look, you guys think I just did whatever Gino wanted the whole time. Here's a move I did for me, whether that's keeping Marty or getting rid of Marty. Right?
I think that's big, safety cloud energy from Tyler. Like, and also I had a power that I didn't use.
So she would have had to use it to do something that's better for her.
So.
But getting out Marty isn't better for her. And then if she used the veto, Marty would have gone up. So there's nothing she can really do with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know, she could use it and take out Marty. I think that's fine. Yeah. I think that's like it's not like Marty's like super gonna protect Jace.
Right.
He's protecting Gino more.
Yeah. No, that's true. Then maybe she should have done it and gotten Marty out of there.
It's just to like, because people love winning, but what people love even more than winning is secret powers.
That's right.
Powers, twists, wielding power is what gives you credit in the end when the jury votes, oftentimes. And so if you have any chance to wield power, You should usually take the opportunity if you need the jury votes,
Which she does.
which she does.
Yeah.
So but either way, like it's fine. She's still in a fine position.
Yeah. And I
here.
guess my final thought on this is just I'm so glad that we had feeds down for like a collective 24 hours to find this stupid thing that doesn't get used. And like,
Ooh.
why can't we see it? Didn't we see it? Like, so when this happened and the veto in the flowers was found by Allison in Big Brother Canada 2, we saw that on feeds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it was one. It's
so fun.
To this day one of the highlights of any Big Brother live feed experiences. But
they're like so close. They get us so close, Big Brother. Like I commend Big Brother Canada. They're doing very well this season in many ways. But with this, show us cool things on the feeds. We're not gonna get spoiled. We found out anyway. It's not a secret.
Yeah. It's dumb stuff. We talked about it a little bit last night. It's just like, okay, if this had been used by Jace and the feeds came back up after 24 hours to, even though Helena won the veto, Marty being up on the block anyway, it would have been like, what? Like, okay, so you just threw in a veto so that Marty could go up? Because that's basically what it feels like.
Yeah.
But if we're watching it the whole time, it feels so much better. It feels so much more engaging. And if Marty goes up, it's like, it's like, oh, Jace just found a thing. This could mean Marty goes up. Oh my God. And then like the feeds go down for the ceremony. It's like, will she use it? We have no idea. And then it's like Marty's up. It's like, oh! Come on. Jace and Gino agree that Moose is the person that should be leaving. Moose is the better one to have leave here. For them, that is how they're feeling. That is going to be continue. It's going to continue to be how they're feeling as the night and next day continue on. Kevin and Helena, though, are going to be talking a little bit. Helena thinks that Summer's like maybe a little bit mad at her for not using the veto. She also feels bad for Moose, but she's just worried. It's like it's not worth like flipping the vote to keep her or anything. And Kevin's like, I don't know, we could flip the vote. Probably not. But they talk about it. I mean, they're in the position where they could do it if they wanted to, and so they consider it very briefly. But it's not a very long conversation.
And I feel like the play here, regardless of what Moose is going to promise you, like it has to be getting rid of Moose here, right? Like Summer is a great social player, but she's losing all of her social capital, people, whatever. So it's not like she's going to be able to get in there and swing. I guess she could swing Betty over to her side, but like I can't really see Summer at this point with this group of people being left building some sort of empire. Whereas Moose can win these competitions. He's won one, right?
Moose has won technically 2 competitions.
What was the other?
Because of the safety chain and the veto.
Oh yeah, safety chain. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like Moose is a bigger threat to Kevin and Helena's power structure, and it makes more sense to get rid of him. Whatever he's going to, if he figures out that he's supposed to pitch that he's going to go after the Showmance, I still feel like it's the play to get him out.
Yes, and I mean at the end of the day, Kevin here is in a spot. Kevin and Helena both are in a spot where, they may need to be very specific about who they take to the end, because it's not like they're like the jury threats. In fact, they're the complete opposite right now. So they have to be very careful about who they bring to the end. And also they don't have like a whole structure in place where there are people that will definitely bring them to the end, no matter what happens with the competitions. So, honestly, regardless of relationships at times for them, I think it's just very important to take out people that are more likely to beat them in competitions. And that would be Moose, for sure. But they also still have like a bunch of people that they need to take out. And if Marty is unwilling to take a shot at Gino and Jace, then they may feel like they need Moose there to take that shot if he's willing. Because even though Summer is willing to take the shot, she hasn't exactly won many competitions. It's sort of a similar position to where Summer was back and forth about Betty and Herman, where she was like, oh, well, Herman is more capable of winning competitions for me to do the work. But like I said with Summer, I feel like just the call here is that you should be taking Kevin Martin said it best. We're getting to the end game. The competitions are mattering more and more. And you should be taking the people out that are more capable of winning those competitions, in my opinion. So I do think that regardless of where things stand, the right call is to take out Moose. And then add on top of that, the fact that, again, his inclination is to try to work with the Showmance. And it's like, doubly, I think, better to take him out.
I did not consider the fact that their main competition beast would then be Marty, who won't take a shot at Gino. I mean, I feel like they could make him take a shot at Gino. Like, I feel like
that's kind of their hope, right? Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because like that's the because like you can keep Moose every day of the week and be like, okay, well, we need Moose to take that shot, but then like Moose is one of 7 players next week to play, or 6 players next week to, or whatever it is, I don't remember.
I think it's 7.
Yeah, I think it is. To try and take a shot at them, and he doesn't win. Now what?
Right.
You just now he's there, and maybe the shot gets taken at Gino and Jace, and now you need somebody to take the shot at Moose. And you know, now Moose is just there, and it's just like it was a complete waste. When instead you could have had Summer. Summer's a great person, I think, to bring to like a Final 4, Final 3. Because you know she hasn't won anything yet. Granted, she's been throwing a lot of things. She's certainly capable of winning things. Might trick you, but you know you want your best chance. You want probably Summer or Betty in the final 3 with you if you're Kevin and Helena. But they are also talking about Jace, which I think is kind of a mistake.
Yeah. Do you think there's enough of a through line from like Kevin and Helena can like convince Josh to do what they want, who can convince Betty, who can convince Summer? Like, is that kind of enough of a group that isn't really a group, or do you think it would kind of fall apart? Like Josh doesn't really have that kind of control over Betty.
I mean, I think they just feel like Summer is pissed at Gino and Jace and would target them.
You are dead to me. Dead.
I could see you going for the soundboard there. I wasn't sure what clip was coming.
Yeah. So I feel like that's kind of just where they're at. I don't think they feel like they have control over Summer, which is probably why they're considering the option of keeping Moose here. That Moose is somebody that they could maybe have some control over in terms of what he actually does, whereas Summer is somebody that's going to do what she wants to do. The thing is that right now what she wants to do is good for them, and she's not as good at competitions. Whereas Moose, again, maybe they could aim him somewhere and that could be good for them, but he's a little bit better at competitions, and they don't have a long history with Moose. So right. It's, you know, they don't know for sure that that's something that they would be capable of doing.
Yeah, the history part is like huge to me. Like, even if he does win, does that necessarily, like if he says he's going after the Showmance, sure, of course he's going to say whatever this week. Like, you can't really even believe that. Like, it's just, oh, he stumbled upon the correct thing to say. But you can't even really believe, hey, person I've like hardly ever talked game with, oh, you're doing the right pitch to me, sure, I'll keep you, and like fully believe that you're going to do exactly what you say.
Yeah, and he hasn't even made the pitch yet.
No.
He's making the opposite pitch. So it's kind of tough, but Kevin is going to talk with Gino. They both agree again, Moose should be the one to go next this week. Gino thinks that a girl needs to go next week, though. Yeah,
okay.
Very important.
Why? Like, at this point? At this point.
You know what? You're right, Gino. A girl needs to go. So sorry, Jace.
No. As we saw with the have card shenanigans, like Jace is on a whole another level. When he talks about getting rid of the girl, she doesn't count. Okay.
Jace is not different. A girl. She's also not. She didn't get that have card.
No.
She's exempt.
It's her secret power she won. She's just invisible, not applicable to being eliminated.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, that was basically the day. I can give you a small update from this morning that the Crash Test Dummies do have a bit of a meeting here. And Kevin again kind of brought up the idea of like, hey, maybe we should keep Moose around. Let's think about it. And Josh was kind of like, he did just pitch to me last night that he wants to work with the Showmance. And so I was like, they're really considering it. Now, I think that even though that was said and that sort of shut down the conversation, I think in that moment, Moose did make a pitch to Kevin this morning that I did not get a chance to see much of, but I think he might have mentioned that he would be willing to target the Showmance to Kevin. It probably after some prompting from Kevin, and that they may still be considering the option of keeping Moose around, but it does still feel like a bit of an uphill climb at this time, but it is still not completely out of the realm of possibility that Moose could stay this week. As of right now, we will just have to wait and see.
I've seen a lot of sentiments this week now that things have finally settled a little bit, that it's like, oh, this season isn't really that good, and oh, this week sucks, and it's like, if like, have your own opinion, totally cool, I'm not going to change it, but I feel like like still when someone wins something, we don't know, oh, here is the next 6 days exactly. Like we had it a little bit when Helena won the veto. It's like, oh, she's probably not going to use it. Then we had this little power thingy thrown in here, and now like they're thinking of flipping the vote maybe. We don't have a set in stone plan. And like just 2 weeks ago, like things were crazy. Like I feel like just having one bit of a slower week, right? Like jury just started, and like soon we're gonna have another double or a triple, and that's gonna suck in its own way. But like the excitement will still be there. I don't know. I'm really enjoying watching these people, and I feel like it's not a steamroll. Like we have these different factions going after each other. Things are changing. It's like very few pair. Like we got the Kevin and Helena, and we got the JC and Gino pairs. But other than that, like pairs are working together. I don't know.
I mean,
it's great.
Yeah, I mean, this has been the slowest week of probably the season, but it's also kind of because of Buzzkilled getting the Buzzkill.
Yeah.
And then this dumb, like, large feed outage for this power that didn't do anything. Like, remove those two things, and I think it's probably still fine. And it's also like, it's the slowest week of this season, like in comparison to the other weeks. This is a good to great week on any other season where things are locked up from the second the HOH wins HOH. This is a week where the HOH had a backdoor plan. The backdoor plan was spoiled, and now there's a genuine sort of like, which way should we go? And there's lots of long-term intrigue in terms of strategic positioning of where things are going in future weeks. This has still been very good, even though it's like perhaps the slowest week of the season. That's not saying that much.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to have like an amazing chaotic I almost said pre-merge, pre-jury, and then a post like jury. Because when you have a chaotic pre-jury, you get all those people out because they're chaos. And so then you're left with the less chaotic people. But then we still have some solid strategists left. Like there's going to be a little bit of chaos.
I mean, if you think about like Big Brother 20, which was like fire week after week as well for a little while, and then you get to like the hacker week and it just like dives off a cliff, and it just like becomes super slow for the rest of the season. Like that's not where we're at all at this point. Maybe if this power had gone through or something, like, if there was some sort of dumb twist that would help accelerate the downfall of the season, maybe that would be the case. But no, I mean, I feel like we are still on track. This has been very, very fun here.
Speaking of dumb twists, what happened to the doors? Remember the open a door when you're eliminated? They just, oh, Kevin won $500. That was actually really cheap. Let's just cut it here.
Yeah, I'm fine. Again, like pretty much all the twists this season have just completely flopped, which is a great thing because we don't need them. Yeah,
it's great though.
We have the doors, the safety, this veto. Like we don't need it. It's going fine.
Oh yeah, Marty got voted as safety one week. Man, it's just like a fever dream.
Yeah. All right. That's about what we have. Anything else you wanted to bring up, Mel?
I had some fun little things. There was a big group chat yesterday, and I just like watching them talk. It's like I got a smile on my face the whole time. They're just fun, cool people. Moose was saying he doesn't really get along with people who are like completely toxic positivity, just like, oh, everything's so great all the time. It was so funny because Betty was getting offended by it. She's like, what, really? Like, but people are great, but I'm so positive. And it's just hilarious. Like the Betty from week 2, Kevin is my enemy. I want him to die.
Well, she's also the person that was like, I'm going to be toxically positive when she was put on the block. There's also the people really enjoyed. There's a bit of a moment between Kevin and Josh that they're holding hands a little bit, kind of looking into each other's eyes. People got very excited about it, but it's just a thing.
You're not shipping
Kosh,
Jevin, Keen. I don't even remember their names. Kevin and
Kosh or Jevin.
Kosh or Jevin.
Probably Jevin.
Definitely Jevin.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, look, I'm down. Like, they both have significant others, though, so.
Yeah. Yeah, they had like a staring contest into each other's eyes for like 30 seconds. It was very intense. And like, as they're doing this, like, everyone's just chatting around them. Like, they're just in their own little world. Very cute. Kevin was playing drums on his stomach. Yeah, I don't know. They have fun.
There you go. If you're a big shipper, you can check out those clips.
Yeah, since Sino seems very dead since she's on the block, but you never know. Yeah. I just wanted to talk a little bit about like the best end game strategy for these people. So I know you're going to do the deep dive for the stock watch tonight, but like for every person, like what is their move right now? Particularly for Kevin and Helena, who seem like they have a very well set up game, but aren't at the moment with Herman getting that sort of credit. And then some of these people who aren't really competition beasts, like is their only option to win competitions, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's I mean, kind of the thing, right? Like for if you're sort of modeling the game, because I've sort of seen Kevin and Helena a little bit as like a Josh and Danielle, it's a Jason and Danielle, and a little. There's a little bit of like Dan's game as well with Kevin in terms of like positioning early game to sort of like developing something around mid game. The difference there is that so for Dan, he was able to create a structure mid game because we were like Dan versus Derek essentially is like the Herman versus Kevin game in the early portion where like Herman is really trying to build structure and Kevin is all about chaos and trying to ride that chaos, which is what Dan did in season 10. But by the time that Dan hits like the midpoint of the game, he creates his own structure and just like demolishes the other side of the house and then rides his structure down to the end because Dan was always that kind of hybrid player. Danielle and Jason, on the other hand, were a little bit more like they had individual allies, they had individual assets, which is a lot more similar to where Kevin and Helena stand right now. And they were a little bit more reliant on like competitions going a certain way for them to get to the end. The difference there was that like Jason was like an auto win if he made it there, and Danielle was an auto loss. So they didn't have to worry too much about jury management at that time. So like basically the thing for Kevin and Helena is that that they need to be able to, I think they need to be able to win, which is why I think it's so important to just take out these competition threats if you can. Obviously, keeping Marty was important for them for now, but like Marty will need to go, Gino needs to go, Moose needs to go. I think Jace needs to go. Obviously, Josh needs to go. Unfortunately, that's definitely going to be like that Marcellus moment when that happens because they're not going to let the Lisa get to the end and just beat them out like what happened with Danielle and Jason. So I really do feel like they just need to get to like final four with like Betty and Summer, maybe final five with like Betty, Summer, and Jace or something. And then the problem is that like they might not even, depending on like how the jury is feeling, what they both should really do is like send somebody into the jury who can really explain their game. Somebody like Josh, like Kevin having Josh is great because if you're Kevin, you can send Josh to the jury, even if you have to betray him, with instructions for how to explain the game properly so that you are going to beat whoever you sit next to, even if it's Helena, even if it's Betty or Summer or Jace. Like that's important. And I think as long as you feel like you can beat Jace, as long as you also feel like you can get Jace to take you, I think it's fine to take Jace to the final three, even though it's maybe a little riskier if she wins that and like takes you. But you have to make sure that she will take you. But basically, I think overall, the point is take out the competition threats, just try to win those endgame competitions. That's plan A. Plan B is jury manage as much as possible with your allies, sending them into jury with scripts. And then, plan C is hope that the person you bring was going to take you over your other ally.
Should Kevin cut Helena for that purpose? Like at final four?
I don't think so. Not unless Helena like comes out as a front runner somehow. Right now
she would know his game to be able to share it.
That's true, but I feel like Helena is potentially like, unless the jury managing works, Helena's maybe one of the only people he can have a shot against. And I think it's too risky to go in another direction. Because like, even if like you send her out at 4, she doesn't really have a lot of time to talk.
That's
to the jury.
True. It would have to be 5.
So it would have to be earlier than that, and I feel like that's not good enough. I feel like Josh is the perfect person because he has a great relationship with Josh. He can't have Josh in the end game. And Josh is also very well respected. Like Helena's not going to have the respect to put like, if Helena's the only person pitching Kevin's game, somebody like Herman is going to be like, of course you think he has a good game. Like, you're playing the same game. But if Josh came into the jury as somebody that everybody respects and is like, let me tell you, I feel like that would be huge. So
I feel like they need to go after Josh like immediately, because I feel like they need to take Josh out. Like for everyone who sees Josh as such a front runner, like they need a move on the board, and it's either Gino or Josh. And if they can prep Josh like this, because Gino's not going to do anything for them in jury. So I know they want to keep Josh because he's super helpful to them right now. But if they win something, like I don't want to count on them winning something else. Like I feel like they need to take that shot.
I mean, if Gino is still there, I don't think they should take Josh out before Gino. I mean, Gino is the fact that Gino has a locked-in Showmance ally is just far too dangerous, in my opinion.
But doesn't that leave them as targets ahead? Like someone's always targeting the Showmance?
I mean, theoretically, but you don't want them to just like Jackson and Holly their way to the end. Like, you have to be very careful about these competition threats. The fact that they've both won competitions and like are both capable of winning competitions, like the competitions have been good so far, but like just on the off chance that it gets into some sort of like just a couple of physical competitions thrown in here and there.
Or the quiz comps. Gino's amazing at the quiz comps.
And they're good at the quiz comps. Like, you just don't want to take that risk. They're also difficult to maneuver around and manipulate compared to Josh. Like, you know, worst case scenario, Josh ends up like winning his way down to the final 5 or final 4, and you don't get to send him to jury. Whatever. You still just try to hope that you can get to the final 2 with Helena and or Kevin. And then one of you has to win. So, you know, it's I think it would be overplaying to try and send Josh out earlier than your sort of positioning would indicate, just so that you get some jury credit.
Yeah, that's fair. And then I assume JC Lynn should not try to get Gino out, because while it would be a good move for her, he's going to be such a target ahead. Although once he leaves, is anyone going to be coming for JC Lynn if they think that they can beat her?
I mean, I think some people would, but obviously Kevin and Helena aren't currently talking about it. They're talking about wanting to keep her around. I think that, I mean, there's no chance that I mean, the Jace is not Beth. Beth made that mistake.
I know she wouldn't, but should she?
No, okay. As we saw with Beth, right?
Yeah.
Jace just needs to, like, look, if it came down to a final 3 and it was like, should Jace take Gino or Betty? Like, yeah, take Betty. But never should she cut Gino, in my opinion, before like the final 3.
Okay. Who else we got here? Helena is like she's got to have one of the lowest win equities right now. If like Kevin, the mastermind, is like right at the bottom, right?
Yeah, and because again, I think the problem is that like Kevin has this secret weapon in Josh, where Josh can really like extol the virtues of Kevin's game, but he doesn't have as much to say about Helena. He respects Helena, but he doesn't have as close a relationship with Helena, and Helena doesn't have anybody other than Kevin, and a little bit Josh, that can like really explain her game in the way that Josh can explain Kevin's. Like Marty could go in there to the jury and be like, yeah, I've had a final 2 with Helena this whole time. And everyone would be like, yeah, we know.
Yeah,
and he'll be like, no, yeah, Helena's really good. Like, I was able to like really look out for her. And like the way that Marty will pitch Helena's game is like not going to be beneficial to Helena, in my opinion. And then like, it's not like Betty or Summer really know a ton about what Helena's doing. So again, like the only people who really know what Helena's doing are Kevin and Josh. There's just no world where taking out Kevin is going to benefit Helena until like the very, very end, maybe. And that's probably not enough time for him to pitch the jury. And again, if Josh is going to be pitching Kevin over her, then that could be dangerous as well. So, I think for Helena, winning this veto was huge. I think she just needs to continue to, again, win some things. I think she does have the benefit of having better relationships with some of the jurors. Like, I think that Herman, granted, she didn't have the best relationship with Herman, but Herman still listed Helena over Kevin in terms of like how he was viewing things. That was before she won a competition. So Kevin had won a veto. Helena hadn't won anything, and Herman still had Helena just a nudge above Kevin. And I think that's where a lot of the jurors would feel if everything else is equal. And so I do think she has the leg up in that sense. But the danger is that, somebody like Josh comes into jury and starts pitching Kevin over Helena, or just pitching Kevin in general, which could give Kevin the leg up in the other direction. But I wouldn't count her out, because, again, she's very good with individual relationships. I think that Helena could absolutely, if she starts focusing on managing jury, sending people to the jury with like very positive impressions of her, like she should be working on Moose right now if they're going to send Moose home, talking to Moose, bonding with Moose, talking about Herman, all kinds of stuff. I think she could absolutely take a win here.
Do you think that the people who are left need to focus more on social relationships and strategy, or more on comp wins based on what the composition of the jury is going to be? So of course we obviously don't know that. Like if Kevin is on the jury, he's going to heavily focus strategy. Herman on the jury is heavily focusing comp wins. For everyone left, like Moose, Summer, Jace, and Gino, do you think they'll be very comp win focused as well, in like big moves or any moves, or is a relationship with them going to be enough?
I think most people on the jury go, relationships are their biggest priority. Like, if it's like, you're my best friend, you're my number one, that's going to supersede everything. Then it's like competition wins. Then it's like relationship tier 2. Then it's, were you good at the game? And then it's like, did you really piss me off? So competitions, I think, are always huge, even for people like Kevin, even for like strategists. There's something that is, I think, subconscious about, again, wielding power in the game that makes people feel like they did things that were impressive. So you should, I think, always winning competitions is going to be good for you. And if there's somebody who won a bunch of competitions and isn't Marty, or even is Marty, somebody who didn't win a lot of competitions is always going to have a really hard time competing against the person who has a lot of competitions in the end, even with a jury that respects strategy, because a jury that respects strategy will still see the person that won a bunch of competitions as like, oh, that was very strategic.
Yeah, and that's so frustrating that Gino would have so much more win equity than Kevin right now. It's like, what could Kevin do? Like, I wish it was possible to win this game without those kind of comp wins. Like, he was able to manipulate the people who won competitions to do what he want, and that seems so much more impressive. And like, yeah, Gino, I don't even remember who he got out. No one important. Like,
yeah, he took out his friends.
Yeah, right.
On his HOH, or like tried to. Like, he failed to take out one of his allies this week.
And he's gonna win over Kevin. Come on.
But that's just like, that's why it's in my opinion so important to take Gino out for Kevin. Like, you have to play around that. Like, if that's the perception, that is the reality, and you have to combat that reality by removing Gino from the board, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty much all I have, except one question from the chat. Who would put Jace and Gino up if they won? So we have Summer.
Straight up?
Yeah. Or I guess who would target them, not necessarily put them both up as initial noms.
Well, I think Summer is right now telling Kevin that she would nominate Marty and Gino. So not both of them. Josh has talked about not putting both of them up on the block. Kevin wouldn't put both of them up. I don't know. I don't know if anyone would put them both up right now.
Is that a good idea? I would think that for a showmance that both of them can win competitions, you would want to put both of them up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I think for like Kevin and Helena and maybe even Josh, like if the idea is to sort of sneak attack, that they don't know that they need to, that if Jace and Gino don't know that they need to win the veto and not use it, then they can like either get away with like just completely not making the move if they don't. Because like the thing is, like if they put Gino on the block, then Gino can win the veto. And if Gino wins the veto, then Gino's safe. And Gino's the person they care about getting out, not Jace. In fact, they don't want Jace to go.
Right.
So for them, it makes a lot of sense to not put them on the block, because you're only like slightly increasing their odds of surviving if you allow both Jace and Gino to win. They could both theoretically be safe. versus just Gino could be safe if he wins. But Gino knows that he needs to win if he's on the block versus not knowing he needs to win, and he might not even be playing if he's not on the block. So I think it's the right call for them. For somebody like Summer, like she doesn't care about Marty or Gino. I think she's saying like if Marty's not coming for Gino, then I'm gonna force him to campaign against Gino on the block.
Oh, that's
fine,
great.
it's fine.
Okay, I should rephrase my question then. Who is going to target Gino next week, if anyone?
I think most people are looking to target Gino at this point.
Okay, but not put him up. So a lot of people are aiming for the back door right now.
Yeah, which is I think still probably the right call considering only 5 people play in the veto. Now there will only be 2 people not playing in the veto outside of the HOH, so it's difficult to like really prevent somebody from playing. But still, you have a little bit of those odds, and again, just like the incentive to win the veto is not quite as prevalent if they're not on the block.
Do you think so? Then at that point, the only person would be JC who wouldn't use it. I guess Gino and JC if they get picked and play, right?
Yeah.
So then I guess there's the same risk whether they're on the block or not, unless you put both of them up. So you're just hedging your bets at this point. Do you want to let him know he's in trouble and gun for the veto, or go under the illusion that he's not in trouble and then risk them winning anyway?
Yeah. The only difference is if Jace is on the block, she can't use the veto on Gino or not use the veto to prevent Gino from being backdoored. So Jace is the only equation there. And again, for like Kevin and Helena, like they want to make sure they continue to work with Jace if possible. So it like again continues to make sense there. But if you're say Summer and you really cared about making sure that Gino left, then maybe you just put Jace and Gino up. But she's like Marty could go, like Jace could go, Gino could go. So it doesn't really matter to her, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think Marty and Gino are great noms for most of the house. I mean, I guess it still behooves Kevin to have Marty. Yeah.
Because basically, like, just putting up the 2 targets, like Jace and Gino or Gino and Marty or something like that, that's, you're taking a shotgun to 3 people. And if any of them get hit, fine. For Kevin and Helena, they're really hoping to like have a sharp shooting, snipe somebody right out of the game, and that's Gino. And so for that purpose, they're looking at like more specific kind of weird noms. But either way, a lot of people are hoping, I think, that Gino is going to be taken out next week.
Can relate. All right, that's it for me.
All right, well, lots of discussion here in this update, but we made it through. All right. Thank you all for joining us today. I will, of course, be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother Canada 10 live feeds. We'll discuss if anything happens with this potential vote flip. Again, my guess is no, but it is theoretically possible that Moose could still stay. And then, of course, tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, I will be live with the Roundtable. We will be discussing the week as a whole. We'll talk Stock Watch, see what kind of changes have happened for the ratings for the players. I will be tweeting out the survey after this podcast ends over on Twitter at Armstrong Taran if you want to take it. Make sure you check out the Taran show with Gabby this week. It was very, very fun. And find me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. And I'll be live watching the episodes with all of you every time they're on. It'll be a good time. Mel, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Mel Hulst, and then there I have my crafting Instagram linked if you like crafts.
There you go. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us, and I will see all of you next time.